Now, on to one of our top stories here. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has made clear his intention to cut all ties with Israel and the United States, with a special meeting set for tomorrow, where it's reported the Palestinian leadership will decide on the date to end security coordination with Israel. Now, the threat comes as the new Israeli government is set to formally debate the issue of unilateral annexation of certain West Bank areas. Now, the threat to end security ties has been leveled at Israel dozens of times throughout the tenure of Abbas, but this time appears to have somewhat more traction. Now, we get the latest from our correspondent Emily Rose in Ramallah.
Ministers are meeting at the moment in cabinet meeting to discuss how they would actually implement this in practice. Then Fatah leaders are going to meet tomorrow as well to come up with perhaps suggestions about how this will be actually implemented on the ground. And there have been some Hebrew media reports that senior officials are coming forward and saying that actually that cancellation, security cancellation, will take place, though that will have to wait till tomorrow until we can actually see it. And the implications of which could be vast, and they could actually take time to be seen to the eye, because a lot of that security cooperation is very much happening behind the scenes. It's intelligence cooperation, so it might take the shape of more attacks against Israelis or Israeli soldiers. It might take the shape of more action and involvement and perhaps even activities of more of the extremist Islamist undercurrents that we see in the West Bank, Hamas and the like. So that could be something that happens looking forward. Either way, still, when you speak to analysts, they say that this is definitely a move by the Palestinian Authority to warn and put out the warning to the international community to try to put diplomatic pressure on Israel to walk back from annexation, and particularly when we're talking about the European states, try to leverage that against Israel and walk it back from this action.
Well, staying on the topic here today, the UN Middle East envoy, Nikolai Mladenov, spoke to the Security Council, saying that Israel's intentions to discuss annexing parts of the West Bank would, quote, close the door to a renewal of negotiations, close quote. Mladenov urged the 15-member council to back a push by the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, against any unilateral steps by either side. Now, here's more from the Security Council.
The continuing threat of annexation by Israel of parts of the West Bank would constitute a most serious violation of international law, deal a devastating blow to the two-state solution, close the door to a renewal of negotiations, and threaten efforts to advance regional peace and our broader efforts to maintain international peace and security.
Now, earlier we spoke with IDF Reserve Major General Eitan Dangot. He's the former coordinator of government activities in the Palestinian territories, who explained why in this post-pandemic economic crunch and facing the new Israeli government, the situation is unlike before.
That is the change, above all, that the Israeli annexation will be something that the population will see. So the loss of price for the population under such a situation that always kept them on a way to balance was the economy. Now, under the corona and the problem of economy, it can meet these 2 points from the policy decisions and the people on the ground to create something that we have not faced on the past.
And now for more on the subject, we're joined by Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. He's the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative. Thanks for being with us this evening here. I'll jump right into it now. Do you believe that Mahmoud Abbas is doing the right thing, cutting ties with Israel? And if so, how does this benefit the Palestinians more than, say, sitting at the table and having negotiations?
He is not only doing the right thing, he is a bit late with that. I mean, he should have done it even earlier. There is no other option for him but to do that, because Israel is putting all the Palestinian Authority in the corner by annexing the biggest parts of the West Bank, by killing the possibility of two-state solution, and substituting a Palestinian state with a system of apartheid. That is the essence of the Trump's deal, and that is the essence of the plan of annexation. This would mean transforming the Palestinian Authority into a security sub-agent for Israel. That is something that no Palestinian leader can tolerate, and something that Palestinian people are rejecting all the time. But also it's the end of an illusion. I mean, Oslo has become an illusion. As you remember, Oslo was signed in 1993. Within 6 years, all final status issues should have been resolved, including statehood, the borders, the refugee issue, and so on. What happened? Nothing. 23 years have passed since then, and nothing happened. We are talking about 27 years since Oslo, and it was actually cancelled by Israel.
Let's talk about the last few years here, though. Let's focus on this here now. I mean, in the words of UN envoy Mladenov today, saying that he thinks that the talk of annexation by Israel shuts the door on potential for negotiations. Some argue that it's the fact that the Palestinians have closed the door on negotiations that it's leading Israel to consider unilateral steps. Why can't the Palestinians sit down at the table with Israel?
This is a lie to say that Palestinians shut the door. Actually, Netanyahu was the one who shut the door. There was an international peace conference in Paris, which Netanyahu refused to attend, although 70 countries came to it, including the Palestinians. There was an invitation by the president of Russia, Mr. Putin, for a meeting between both Palestinian leader and Mr. Netanyahu, and Netanyahu refused. There was another call for another negotiation by many European countries, and he also rejected that. So practically, not only they rejected the real negotiations, they are now telling Palestinians, if you want to negotiate, you can only discuss the deal of the century, which is nothing but a system to kill Palestinian rights and create a system of apartheid. What Israelis should understand is that by killing the two-state solution, you leave us with no option but to struggle to bring down apartheid, not only in the occupied territories, but in the whole of the area. It means that Palestinians will have to struggle from now on for one democratic state where everybody will be equal, and that state cannot be Jewish only.
Well, let's talk about who may be likely now to exploit the lack of coordination between Israel, namely Hamas. Would they be likely to sort of charge into the gap here as Israel and the Palestinian Authority drop their level of coordination to suppress Hamas in the West Bank?
In my opinion, the step that was not yet taken by Palestinian leadership is that there should be immediately efforts to end the internal division in Palestinian side and to create a unified Palestinian leadership that would include everybody, including Hamas. That is exactly what Palestinians need now, a unified leadership, because the challenges are huge and the requirements for struggle are big, and we cannot afford to lose any more energy in struggles between ourselves. The challenge here is about the whole future of the Palestinian people. So I think everybody that cares about the future of Palestine and the future of a real just peace would care now about ending the internal division and creating a unified Palestinian leadership that could stand up to the annexation plans.
Well, we hope to see that unified Palestinian leadership emerge sooner than later. Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.